Ladies and gentlemen, as promised, we are back live in studio. I miss these two guys, ugly mugs. To my, I guess that would be my left. It's the people's choice, Don Rodriguez.
What's up? What's up, peeps?
To his immediate left, it's the man that's none other than one of the greatest storytellers of wrestling historian. And somebody I'm probably going to get into it with tonight, the Nubian Sumo, James.
Greetings and salutations, peoples.
I mean, damn, you took a hell of a pull on that one, man. What you smoking and drinking on tonight?
Well, tonight the Nubian Sumo is powered by the Oliva Series V Monticello, which I had to pull out of a 1 year sleep.
I like that.
And then we're also partaking of the Kentucky Vintage, which, if you remember, the pure Kentucky bottle that I had, it's made by the same company, bottled by the same company, Willet, and is a very tasty 90 proof.
Okay. I mean, you know, it's going to be easy on the palate, I guess, because you don't have a problem putting your flavors together with your bourbon and your sticks.
Oh no, these two go together pretty well. So yeah, they pair very well together. So yeah, I'm gonna have a good night tonight.
Okay, because we're gonna get into some things before we do. Raj Thompson is joining us on YouTube.
What up? What up?
Good evening, good sir. We also joined by the Midnight Rider. Ben, he said, is he using a flame thrower to light the cigar? I think so.
That's what Sumo.
Well, it's turned up pretty high. Yeah, I just filled it. Weapon of choice.
I'm gonna get you some wooden matches, seal the flavor in a little better.
Well, I got some wooden matches. I got cedar too, but I like to use my lighter.
Oh man, damn, cedar matches. Does that affect the flavor?
My opinion.
Your opinion.
My opinion. The only reason people like to use matches and cedar is because they like the smell of the burning of the cedar and the matches afterwards. It gives you a nice way to light your cigar, and you know it's real safe on the stick, you know, and to initially lighten it. But you know, I like the butane. It's quick, it's easy, it's fine. It does nothing to affect the taste of the cigar, whereas the cedar is just like having icing on your cake. You get the smell of the cedar along with the burning with the actual way you burn. It's impressive to people. I don't need to impress anybody. I just want to smoke my cigar.
I get it.
Thanks, Pimp Juice.
My opinion. Strictly my opinion.
You're entitled to that. I mean, you just teaching me new. I'm just asking questions because I'm just trying to learn.
I don't smoke, so I just think it's interesting to hear about, but I'll let y'all, well, at least the Sumo, have his moment in the sun, because it's time for y'all to get into some interesting conversation. I may be
before we do,
what
there is something currently going on right now that I want to get into. Right now,
I was going to do
Impact.
We're going to feed that in.
Okay, I'll let you run your show then, if that's the case.
Not yet, because we making a little audible in the story here.
Okay.
But I really want to get this out because I've been waiting to hear about this debate or this conversation that was had, or a little bit more detail into the thought process of like it, hate it, love it, don't care for it, inaccuracies, whatever. And KG's new segment, we like to call How It Really Happened. So the conversation is about the Young Rock television show and how KG is thoroughly infatuated and marking out to this. But Sumo doesn't really care for the inaccuracies. And, oh, man, well, they're just not following history, for lack of a better term. I don't know what better way to word it. So we got point counterpoint here. I guess I'll be the neutral party to see which way I can be swayed, because it's kind of interesting. I haven't watched the show at all, so not even a percentage of
I'm
the
surprised
show
at
other
you.
than the commercial that has popped up. But you guys have taken a little bit more of an interest in the last episode that actually had Roman Reigns, a young Roman Reigns in it, and they were kind of alluding to down the road the one-on-one match at WrestleMania between Roman and Dwayne Johnson, or Dewey, as he was called in that episode. So KG, you go ahead and frame your opinion, and then we'll see what the Sumo thinks about it.
Thank you. Number one, I'm surprised at you, Don Rodriguez, that you have not watched this show. I thought of all people, you would be joining me in watching this. I've been hooked since season 1. We're in season 2 now. It's a pretty good show. It's lighthearted. It's funny. It may be telling a little bit of the future where Dwayne Johnson actually runs for president. I mean, I actually hope Jesse the Body Ventura ran for president in, what was that? He was supposed to run in 2004. Nope, he was supposed to run in 2008, and he didn't give me that. But maybe Dwayne Johnson put a wrestler in the White House. But anyway, in that episode, Little Joe jumps up on Dewey's shoulders and says, Samoan drop me. And then he says, acknowledge me. Even my wife got a kick out of that. And, you know,
placement.
Exactly. It was beautiful. It was a good mark out moment. Now, did it really happen? Maybe not like that. Just like James and I were going back and forth in the group chat about Bam Bam Bigelow and Rocky Johnson wrestling each other and with Jerry Lawler in Tennessee. And, you know, Lawler being on color commentary and Downtown Bruno, for those of you that are too young, Harvey Whippleman, being the character that he is on the show. So I told James, I said, okay, it may be some inaccuracies, but that's what you have to expect with shows and movies like this. You have to expect inaccuracies, that everything's not going to be 100% the truth, because you have to tell the story without losing the viewer.
Right.
James doesn't like that. I myself, I'm like, okay, you know, you got to go do a little research, but you can't take it for fact. I just love it, that the storytelling part of it. But I would think that if Downtown Bruno had a problem with his portrayal on his show, I think he would have said something. But I'm just like, you know, he said, James said, Cornette had something to say on his podcast about it. But I'm like, what are you getting your feathers ruffled up for? Like, it's a show. Chill, bro.
Sumo, that's his framework for his argument on how to watch Young Rock, being just enjoyed as a television experience, as a fan of just The Rock and some interactions, or pulling the curtain back, as they would like to say. So, what's your 2.5 cents on this?
Yes, it is a show. Yes, they're going to have creative license and move some things around. Cornette's issue with the show pretty much was, like you said, the inaccuracies of the history of the show, which I tend to agree to in a sense. Again, I don't mind creative license. You know, you're going to do no story, unless it's an actual documentary, is going to go into the intricacies and the exact things that happened. And like you said, they're gonna change the story around for entertainment value. But they changed it too much for me. I mean, and not that I've seen this show, I haven't watched this show at all. But just from what I have been hearing about it, and from people talking about it, and from the little like Don, the commercials that I've seen of it, it's nothing that I'd be interested in because I'd be sitting there scrutinizing the whole thing from front to back. I mean, the okay, like you were talking about Downtown Bruno. Downtown Bruno's not going to say anything because that's probably why he got that truck so he can keep his mouth shut. B, he's probably getting a check from it or some type of royalty from it because they are using his likeness. So he ain't gonna say but so much. C rather, kayfabe. There's people who still believe in kayfabe. So if they want to skew the story as they feel like they want to, I mean, hey, whatever. They're not going to get the real story. So as far as a wrestler is concerned, it's keeping up kayfabe. So go ahead and do what you do.
All right, so KG, what a historically accurate wrestling television show, aka I guess depending on how historically accurate you get, because you could go on one extreme being a documentary, or another extreme being a PBS interview special with some flashbacks. Be entertaining to you, or would you rather them take some Hollywood style creative liberties to fill in the blanks on some of the story to make it a little bit more entertaining?
I could take it either way because the truth is, no matter what happens on the show, I want to know what happened for real. We have one of the most vast internet engines in Google where you can find anything out that has happened. One of my favorite movies is Friday Night Lights. The movie differs from the book, which also differs from what really happened. So you got to go do research. You got to read the book, watch the movie, find out what was changed around and things like that. And then you'll find out the real story. Same thing with Young Rock. You go and you start finding things out and you start looking and piecing things together. That's the fun part for me. When it's inaccurate and it's something that just don't seem right and you go research and you're like, oh yeah, it did happen like that. I'm fine with that. Because a lot of times when you have documentaries and Dark Sides of the Ring and things like that, they have inaccuracies too.
So, James, would you prefer if it was done in the style of Table for Three, where you had The Rock and whoever else would have been part of that storyline that they could actually have that's allowed that could be there, and they're having a discussion at a round table, but then you could do it live, with actors, or you could do it in a cartoon format or something. Have that little segment illustrating the story that way. So you're still getting I guess for all intents and purposes, the historical conversation, but you get the Hollywood-ness of it for it to be an entertaining television show. Would you watch that?
Okay, so the difference between a show like Young Rock, which is supposed to be a depiction of his life, whereas you have a show like Heels, and I don't know if anybody watched the show Heels with Stephen Amell, the guy who played Green Arrow. Huh?
Wait for him to have a true heel. Like a lot of people, they're fan favorites, and yeah, they were bad guys at some point, but they don't have Corbin, Happy Corbin, Baron Corbin, or Triple H.
No. I'm talking about
the other one. I'm sorry.
I'm not talking about. No, you thinking evil. You thinking evil.
You talk about Heels with Amell and CM Punk.
Amell and CM. Right, exactly. That show.
That show. I'm mad about the evil part because I'm not watching that until they have somebody truly evil like Kelvin Sullivan, or talk about one of those guys. But
well, you might as well stop now because it's not going to happen. Anyway, plus I've already seen. Plus Peacock has all 8 of them on there, and I've already seen them all and whatever. Going back,
watch the Bully Ray,
Terrible.
the Bully Ray Smoke Skull session, by the way. That's really good.
Terrible. Anyway, if it was shown like Stephen Amell's Heels, where it was a fictional type thing, then fine. You could have all the creative license that you want. But if you're going to base this off of something that's actually true, I would expect as much creative license as they are giving in this. They're mixing up stories, okay? Right. I mean, and they're mixing up stories for the benefit of the creative part or the entertainment part of it, but it's unnecessary. There's no reason to put Jerry the King Lawler behind the microphone when he wasn't behind the microphone in Memphis. He didn't make the microphone until he got to WWE.
Right.
Did they do that because he did it in WWE and people could relate to it? Probably so. But it's not what actually happened. See, by putting in this guy in Jerry the King Lawler in Memphis as an announcer, you're taking away Lance Russell. How are you going to take away one of the greatest voices in wrestling history just because The Rock thinks somebody might not know who he is? Just to put in somebody like Jerry the King Lawler.
Right, for television.
Now, the character that they made, the guy that plays Downtown Bruno, looks nothing like Downtown Bruno. This guy that's playing Downtown Bruno is cut to shreds and got 70 pounds on Bruno even at that point. So I mean, it's just not. I mean, look. Okay, so you look at Man in the Moon,
right?
The movie Man in the Moon about Andy Kaufman. That movie was probably as true to life as you could get.
Yeah. That's true method acting from Jim.
There weren't too many inaccuracies or creative license changes in that movie at all. I mean, down to the David Letterman set, down to the other character that he played with the tuxedo and everything. I forget his name right now, but the whole thing. I mean, it was about as true to life as you could get.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even down to and see, and I'm ashamed to say this, even though I just mentioned his name.
Thank you.
I just recently, in the past 2 weeks, realized that Jim Ross was actually playing Lance Russell in the movie, because I always always have him saying, and it's a pile driver, like he was having a stroke or something. But that's how Lance Russell actually said it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wow, okay, I'm ashamed of myself on that one. But, I take the hit on that one. But, yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it. And I know that there's a show like this, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to cut this thing up with a damn machete. Because I'm going to be like, no, that didn't happen. No, he wasn't there. No, they didn't use a pile driver like that. They used a regular pile driver. No, I'm going to cut it up too much. So and I'm not going to be able to enjoy it. So I just choose not to watch it.
Thankfully, you are not a Star Wars fan, because technically you sound like one of those hardcore fans that would watch the episode 1, 2, and 3 and just go nuts, cutting it apart, and then Rise of Skywalker, you just say it was a crapshoot. So thankfully that. But I do have one more question, and this is for KG. Just because I have to. Since you like Young Rock, would you be open to watching a show called What Happened at One Time in the Sports Arena, where it's going to be a loosely, told story, very whimsical, but it's 100% factual about that time.
Stop! Stop!
In the sports arena.
Just on to the next subject.
No, that was not your
next subject. Change the subject, KG. Change the subject. Change the subject.
You would watch that.
Change the subject.
I didn't ask you.
Change the subject.
I didn't ask you.
Well, okay.
I'm asking the big guy KG if he would watch that show. I'm just saying, and hypotheticals.
Well, hold on, because Perry has something to say. Creative license. I agree with that.
You'll probably take some creative licensing. There may be some fireworks and pyro when I slam them.
It's entertainment. Look at the fuss over winning time. A bit inaccurate according to real life players, but still a dope show, which it is. It is a very, very dope show. Myself and Dario, I think Big Jim watching too. I got to check in with him, but we're watching that faithfully every Sunday. I even have that on the DVR. Very good show. And the character you referenced, James, Bob Zamundo.
Yes.
Zamuda.
Don't want them yelling at him for getting inaccurate.
And I know we're gonna get into this. I want to save these other two comments for when we get into it, because I know that's coming. So I ain't forgot about that. But I'd like to see that. Because I would like to sit there with James so James can say, you know what, that never happened.
Well, he's saying that now, but I'm just saying if Hollywood wanted to pick up that story, I could probably stretch that out for about 12 seasons.
Wow. Okie dokie.
Whole build up to it. So in the Michael James parties, all that stuff. And then one day he just had to look at me and say, I bet you can't. Okay. And the rest was Hogan and Andre the Giant history.
Oh, speaking of Andre the Giant, the depiction of Andre the Giant, and I see James, you ain't watched it, but the amount of stories that The Rock has about Andre the Giant and him taking him fishing and just dropping, life knowledge on him. Just knowledge about life.
That's true to a point.
Okay.
Andre the Giant was a very integral part of The Rock's life in his early years, especially during the time when Rocky Johnson was in the WWE, and even in Memphis, because in his early years, in Andre's early years, he was going around from territory to territory. He didn't spend any more than a month in each territory because he was the attraction already. So to have him stay in one place too long, would have worn him out. So he'd stay for a while and leave, go to the next place and whatnot. So yeah, they traveled around to different places all the time. So yeah, The Rock had. Dwayne Johnson had a lot of influence from a lot of those guys that I know that are in that show. But notice that a lot of those characters that are in the show are WWE related.
Yeah, Macho Man, the Iron Sheik, and him and the Iron Sheik as the young kid, the Iron Sheik boy. Oh my God, that relationship! And everybody said, "Well, he stole Jabroni from the Iron Sheik." But I mean, if you grew up around the Iron Sheik, that's your guy.
Of course he did, yes, and he's given and he has to make that known because he even said it himself. He says a lot of people think I came up with Jabroni. No, the Iron Sheik was saying Jabroni back in the 70s.
Well, if that's the case, then
that's where he got it from.
I can't wait for the Ron Simmons episode for pretty much all the rest of the Rock's gimmick coming from Ron Simmons, which is already, public been said and stuff. And, even The Rock has said it. Everybody knows, Ron laid down some knowledge and said some things. And Dwayne took it and said, I'm going to go ahead and try that out. But, I mean, Ron said he didn't care. He wasn't just saying it trying to, get a paycheck out of it. He was trying to bestow some knowledge. And, Ron Simmons is Ron Simmons, made man.
Yeah.
Look,
heavily respected.
Jim Cornette, and I listen to Jim Cornette's podcast a lot, as you all know. I get a lot of things from Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette has this one saying that I use a lot. He says, when you steal from one person, it's plagiarism. When you steal from many people, it's research. Okay? So you got people who steal from people all the time. Ric Flair says he gets a lot of his early gimmicks, early horseman gimmicks, from Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
What's causing all this? That's Arn. That's not Rick. So, you know, he gets a lot of his stuff from Arn Anderson. So, I mean, everybody steals from everybody and just makes it their own. Yep. So yeah, the Rock took Jabroni from Iron Sheik, and he took a whole bunch of his own gimmick from Ron Simmons, and I'm sure he stole it from a whole bunch of other people. And like I wish he would have stolen the proper move, the proper way to put on the sharpshooter from Bret Hart.
Let's not even talk about that, because we're gonna have that super conversation about KG's boy John Cena forgetting how to do a step over to the crossface.
Wait,
every time Magnum TA saw that, he just wanted to go smack somebody. Will Smith.
Why he got to be my boy though? But anyway,
because I can't be like my boy. And
that is your boy. Every time somebody's coming back, it's John Cena. But let me ask you this, and then we can move on. I've always known that. Well, I've always been told that Pat Patterson was a really, really integral part of Dwayne Johnson coming into the WWF at the time, and training him properly along with his dad, Soul Man Rocky Johnson. But I've always been told that Pat Patterson had a huge hand in that. And in the show, it's like Pat Patterson came to see him work out and was like, "Yeah, I'm unimpressed," and walked out. And then, you know, he wound up calling him again later for a tryout, but it's like, was Pat Patterson that big of a part? Well, or are we talking Pedro Morales versus Pat Patterson type of part?
They could be taking those liberties in time. So, you know, yeah, because it's been documented that they had scouted The Rock and they didn't see anything a couple times. It took them a bit to actually get on a true radar to where they were going to call him up. So they could be playing with the time period of that, you know, putting it a little forward earlier. And then eventually, I'm assuming if they're going to go that way, then you'll have that Pat Patterson moment where it's time to go ahead and bring this kid up.
Yeah, that Flex Kavana period he had went a good while. I mean, and like you said, with the creative license, they could be just kind of putting it in a whole pattern until they get to the point where further down the line, maybe next season, they decide they want to have Pat Patterson give him the tap and bring him up and bring him in. But yeah, I mean, he struggled during that Flex Kavana period that he was in. So, you know, so I mean, you know, he struggled. Like I did see one clip where he was asking his father about getting into the wrestling business, and his father, he was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And he was he walked up to his father, was saying he wanted to get into the business, and his father told him he wouldn't train him. I did see a clip on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much true to form. That's pretty much true, because he didn't want him in the business. A lot of wrestlers don't want their kids in the business because they know what the toll is. They don't want them getting into that. So I mean, that's pretty much a shoot on that.
Would you say before we're about to transition over, folks? We actually talked about Young Rock for 30 minutes. God dang, we didn't even get paid for it. But would you say, Sumo, that that's they have the desire for their kids to do something else, or is that guilt because they know that once they get the bug, they're gonna repeat the same cycle and sacrifice family for the career?
Just a little of both. You know, you get a guy like Ric Flair. He gave up his whole family and time with his family and whatnot because he wanted to be the best in the business. Did he want David Flair in? No. Did he want Charlotte? Did he want Ashley in? Not really. She didn't want to be in. The only reason she's in is because her brother, God rest his soul, died wanting to be in, and she got in because he wanted Reed to be in because he saw potential in Reed, and he knew Reed had an interest.
That was the clone right there.
Reed was a pretty good wrestler. Reed was an amateur wrestler and was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like Cody. Cody was a great wrestler in the state of Georgia.
Segue.
So yeah, exactly. That's what you like how I did that, don't you?
Yeah. I like that if you will.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, Cody was a great amateur wrestler in the state of Georgia, whether people know it or not. You know, so yeah, I mean, and that's for a shoot. So I mean, you get a lot of these wrestlers who see potential in their children when they are athletic, when they are in wrestling, or when they're in amateur wrestling, or if they really show a serious interest in it, and they just want to make sure that they're taken care of. So they start building them up as they get as in a younger age before they put them in serious training. But then you also have those who.
Pause. Quick question: when you put Dustin on his ass on the football field, was he thinking about wrestling in?
Actually, Dustin had an independent belt when I did that.
Really?
He was the CCW junior heavyweight champion when that happened.
Wow. I don't know why Dusty didn't say, "Come work with me, son. Come work with me if you will."
Oh, I was waiting on it. I stood up in that bus. I was like, "Here I am, Dust. Here I am, Big Dust. Hey, tell me something."
Oh man, I remember James telling me that.
At 17 years old, I'd have been down.
Yeah.
At 17 years old, I'd have been down. Now, when New Jack hit me up in South DeKalb Mall at 35, I was like, "Nah, son." No, sir.
A lot of those bump opportunities have passed me by.
Oh yes, sir. No bumps for your boy here.
I hear that. So you segued into it. Cody, it's been a while, so let's just talk about it real quick. Give the devil his due, so to speak. Cody Rhodes is back in full swing in the WWE, as we know. But the big thing, and my question to you guys, is it too soon for him to be the number 2 face pretty much in the company at this point? Let's just call a spade a spade. You know, they were saying on Raw, but you know, well, the number one on Raw, number 2 in the company. That's a big weight to walk back into. Is it too soon because, or are they just riding the fact of this AEW coattails and just letting them go with it? I mean, you guys, you know, tell me what you think. Number 2 compared to how many people they have on the roster and the potential there. You know, is there somebody else that could be beating him out for that spot? Or did he just say the hell with everybody and that's going to cause issues in the locker room?
Why are you saying number 2? Who's number 1, in your opinion?
Seth Rollins?
You calling Seth Rollins a face? You're calling Seth Rollins a face and he's going up against Cody?
Yeah. In my opinion, I would call him more of a face because I mean, you know, 6 months, 7 months from now, we'll see how the Cody train is running. But you know, Seth Rollins is in that stone cold category at this moment, in my opinion. Where could he do a little heelish things? Yeah, but is he that you know, for lack of a better term, ice cold superstar that you know he could go either way? Fans pop for him and cheers. And could he make him boo? Yeah, but you know, I would give him the number 1 because I don't see. I mean, we know Roman's the number 1 heel. That's a lot. Period in the company. I'd say close number 2 to that would probably be maybe Corbin, just because people hate him so much. But Drew McIntyre, I think people are over him. Bobby Lashley, they kind of left him up there. AJ Styles is just running in the middle. Randy Orton is Randy Orton. He's, you know, go either way. We got RK, what's his name?
Riddle.
Riddle. Yeah, I mean, you know, I wouldn't put him at number 1. I mean, you're running out of people.
So by default, you're making Cody number 1.
Well, I'm just saying that the reporting had him as number 2, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't put number 1 on him. That's a lot of stress. But I mean, you tell me who.
See, I don't put him anywhere. I don't put him anywhere. I mean, he just walked in. He's gonna end up putting himself in a position at some point. I don't think he's number 1, number 2, whatever. He's just pretty much trying to establish himself. Because I mean, he started this thing with Seth Rollins, but it's other than the one match. They're talking about having another match, but it's really not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Who else is he dealing with?
I mean, and with Brock leaving, who could have been the number 1 face, based off of how I know you don't even like it, KG, but I mean, people are marking out for him.
I like Cowboy Brock.
So I mean, it is what it is. But he's gone. I mean, you guys tell me who on the roster is super face of faces.
John Cena.
Yes, you're right.
Who is talking about coming back?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not even joking with that. I'm dead serious. John Cena. You can't tell me you take John Cena as a heel serious.
I would if done. They had what, maybe 3 or 4 opportunities.
There was a time when I would have.
I wouldn't. When he was with the Nexus, I could have took him serious as the leader of the Nexus. But even then, it was so reluctant. And he was so used to being the superhero, the good guy. I can't take that serious.
With the Wyatt family.
Remember though, he came into WWE. He Dr. Thugonomics was a heel.
Really? I never considered him a heel. I considered him
a heel. He was a heel
before he was Max Caster.
Right, he was a heel.
He was
a heel when he was Dr. Thug. That whole Dr. Thugonomics thing, he was a heel. And it wasn't until they came up to the point and it was like, okay, he came up to Vince because you talked about it in one of the documentaries that they did on him. He's like, he came to Vince, was like, look, I'm not rapping anymore. I need to switch up.
Because the rapping thing had gotten over.
Right.
They was only hating on him because you got to think about it. At the time we were dealing with the Thugonomics, we were in the height of hip hop and rap. From Wu-Tangs and Pac and
wait, time out. When he was doing that was like 2003, 2004. Dog, the rap game had started to die off. What revived it? J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar.
They had to die. It didn't die off that much.
It died off once.
Actually, it did.
It died off. We went from Mos Def and Talib Kweli
to the early. Think about who was at the top of the rap game in the 2000s.
Jay-Z.
No, not even Jay-Z. I ain't even thinking about Jay-Z. I'm talking about top of the game. Who was top of the game in the 2000s back in those days?
You said what? Busta Rhymes?
Nelly.
Yeah.
Nelly.
Yeah.
Ja Rule. All them singing rappers.
Yeah. But also you had Cash Money, you had No Limit, you had the guys in there for for street folks.
There was still a lot going on.
And Perry, you right. 50 wound up taking Ja Rule's style. I declowned him about it. He took his style. But wait, hold on.
There was enough going on that they were comparing rapping to that.
But
that's really where the booze and stuff came from.
Hold on, Perry.
Now,
when you talk about
one famous thing from Baltimore, where he had a rap battle against some kid and lost, in my opinion.
I guess he would. You know what? You've been out of Baltimore too long, so I can't get you to do it. I want you to say 2. I want to hear you say Avenue and 2.
Whatever, man. Ain't nobody saying it. I don't speak that improper.
No, you don't. You've been gone too long.
No, I wasn't doing it then. Trust and believe, I wasn't doing it then.
Well, as far as Cody Rhodes go, Perry says hell no. Who else do you have that is truly legit in a convincing face? Outside of Cena, let's take Cena off the table. Who do you have? I don't think anybody.
The only one getting the pops is Seth Rollins at an immense level.
And yes, they are riding this as well as they should. This is my favorite.
Yeah.
We gotta start this one. This is comment of the night.
You can't
shush down.
No. Say it right. Shush! Thank you.
Seth is a heel.
Seth is a heel.
And in all caps, Seth is not a face, Don.
Nowhere near a face.
I know the difference. And
he's not even Stone Cold. He's not even a middle. He's not even a tweener.
Nobody has named one yet. I'm sorry. I don't see a name up here that is legitimately wrestling right now that is a number one face in the WWE. I'm sorry.
Hence my question to you, why make him number 2?
I said he's Stone Cold-esque, but I would not.
He's not Stone Cold-esque, though. He's catching the pops. Yeah, he's catching the pops, but he's not tweening.
Okay. Y'all can say whatever you want. I'm just saying, that's just like James said earlier, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, in the words of another famous wrestler, y'all kiss my ass.
I love it. I love it. This is what I miss.
Yeah, see, just like before, you got nobody's taking his opinion, so now he all butthurt.
My opinion was correct.
Your opinion was correct in your opinion.
But hold on. But I can't let him take.
I'll let y'all be quiet about it. But night 2, oh my gosh, what happened?
But look, I can't let you take the brunt of it because I think Cody is number 1. He's the number 1 face in the company. But
yes, definitely.
I'll give you that. But when it comes to Seth Rollins, I don't think Seth's a heel or a face. I don't think he's tweening. I think it's just Seth freaking Rollins. But he has such a appeal and he has such a following that you're going to get popped for Seth Rollins. I mean, come on now. The Undertaker has been a heel several times in his career, but you still got pops for the Undertaker, especially during the Ministry of Darkness days. You got hella pops for heels, man. So I mean,
at some point, the heel transcends, in my opinion, from the normal definition of the word heel to being in that neutral space, like the Undertaker or Stone Cold or somebody else. I'm not saying that Seth Rollins is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat face, but I'm saying in the grand scheme of how many bad guys that they have on Raw or on SmackDown, he's more face-ish than he is heelish. Because if you put him and KO together in the same shot, which one's a good guy?
They're both heels. And they're both heels, and they established that last Monday.
That don't mean KO is KO. KO's going to be a heel. Just like I talk about him all the time because he's one of the old school true heels. Baron Corbin, he's just riding a wave. He stays in his lane, and that's what he's going to do. You don't see Jinder Mahal running around like, I'm going to be a good guy this week. One
thing about Baron Corbin, we talked about this a long time ago. Remember, I had that I was about 6 months where I couldn't stand Baron Corbin, but I actually deep down loved him because he did his job that well that I couldn't stand his ass.
That's the job.
That's the job. When you get to the point where you can't stand the sight of this, job well done.
Is that the inflection that you get from Seth?
No, because I want to see Seth.
Emotion out of you.
I'm a Seth Rollins fan.
And
he's entertaining to me. He's entertaining to me. He's entertaining to me, but he's still a heel. I like heels. I've always liked heels. The whole time from the very first time I started watching wrestling, I have liked heels. I've never liked baby faces.
Damn, is that bad, Perry?
But see, guess what? He did his job. Yeah.
That's one thing I can say about Corbin.
But you turn the channel. Why? Because of exactly what he's doing. He stayed in his lane.
But no, he said it's boredom. It's not hate, it's boredom.
Perry is bored by the whole damn show. So you can't just pin that on Baron Corbin. Let's call it spade a spade on that one. I'm just bored by Baron Corbin. You didn't even want to watch WrestleMania. And Corbin wasn't even on the damn show. So let's not. Corbin did his job.
Hey, he'll watch WWE more when WWE buys out GCW.
So.
And he agrees with it. He agrees.
No, he agrees on the fact that he doesn't like WWE.
No, he doesn't.
He definitely agrees with it. He doesn't like WWE. But like I said, there is a rumor going around that WWE is looking to buy GCW off of the fight, the Josh Barnett, what is it, the Fight Club type thing, the thing that they got. So so yeah, because that is what they tried to do with Raw Underground. That was what they wanted Raw Underground to be.
It shouldn't have been on Raw. That's the problem.
Yeah,
that should have been a network exclusive show or event airing exclusively on the network, and you do snippets from it, cut-ins in between, the matches and stuff like that. That way,
well, they lost me. They lost me when they fucking had Cap Sergeant Aziz or whatever his name is grabbing somebody's balls that's like a foot shorter than and 200 pounds lighter than he is. They lost me on that.
When Shayna Baszler came in and wrecked shop, all the dudes on the show. Like, I'm with you, Shayna, but god dang, them some swole dudes. You beating everybody?
Yeah, I got her beating everybody.
But she could for real.
Yeah.
Not all.
She could for real.
Yeah.
There was some MMA dudes.
Most 80% of them. 80% of them.
She punked down Babatunde. Really?
Yeah. I believe that. That's for a shoot. Hey, have you seen her? Have you seen her now? Have you seen her wrestling now?
Yeah.
In AEW and whatnot. The Problem
and all that stuff. Yeah. Shout out to Marina.
This is the true Marina Shafir. Okay. This is the MMA fighter, Marina Shafir. And I hate the fact that they got her damn jobbing to these folks, especially jobbing to fucking Jade Cargill.
She shouldn't have been in that match.
She shouldn't have been in that match.
She should not have been in that match.
Now that she gonna job like that.
Not like that.
Now that they gonna job her out like that. Just like I don't like what they doing with old boy now. What's his name? Drew Gulak.
Yeah.
They punking him out for real.
Well,
who did he piss off?
There's some foundation for a storyline there for something.
I would hope so.
Where it's going. But
I would hope so because they got to pay that dude for something for that. I'm sorry. That's just ridiculous.
To 2 women in 1 week, not saying it couldn't happen, but I'm just saying. For real?
Ronda maybe. And Ronda didn't really do nothing to him. Yeah. But Charlotte?
Yeah. Charlotte?
Well,
Charlotte?
Perry says outside of the bloodline and Cody that shows the mid, and he's not buying the rumors.
She's a little too lean now. Just saying. A little too lean.
Right.
Maybe when she had a few more CCs of saline, then, maybe I would have given it to her. Because the figure 8 had a little bit more weight on the back end. But
all I know is Andrade need to go ahead and stand up in it.
When they get married, by the way, everybody got married. Even Tozawa got married this week. When the heck is he marrying Charlotte? You better stop playing around. Rick Flair trying to get that AAA money.
Alexa Bliss is off the market, so I guess I can't say too much about her anymore.
Everybody tying the knot. But we talked about Cody and his pop and circumstance, which is funny that they said, look, man, we're not going to keep raising you up through this little thing. You just walk out like everybody else. But you got something that's going on, or you want to talk about something that's going on tonight? That's we gave it enough time, so hopefully they've had quite a few more matches in, so that way you had more to illuminate us on, James.
Well, they've gone through a few a decent amount of it. I mean, you had the show actually started. The pre-show started at 7:30. They were supposed to have the match between Jonathan Gresham and Eddie Edwards. Jonathan Gresham being the true Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion, beating Bandito. So at the Supercard of Honor, but Gresham ended up getting hurt somehow and was not cleared medically for this show. So they wound up moving one of the pre-shows and had Eddie Edwards going up against Chris Bay. And he wound up beating Chris Bay. And then they had the Knockouts Tag Team Championships with the Influence, wound up beating the Inspiration in their rematch. So that was the pre-show. Then they went into the the main card, which started off with Chris Sabin. Chris Sabin, Jay White, and Steve Macklin in a triple threat match, and Macklin wound up winning that match. You had next match was Taya Valkyrie, who is making her return after a year being in the WWE, and went up against Deonna Purrazzo for her AAA Reina de Reinas championship, of which Taya Valkyrie ended up winning. So she's the new champion. And I'm sure she'll be taking that back to Mexico because they're getting ready to have the AAA, the first of the 3 AAA match cards that they're going to have. That should be on the 30th, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll catch you up on that y'all up on that next week.
Speaking of that, did you see the spot her and your girl Athena did? I'm not sure where it was, but that stacked chair spot.
Yes, I did see that match. That was something else. That was something else entirely. So yeah. Go ahead.
What?
I'm 40 years old. I'm 40 years old. And I told you a long time ago, I said I wanted to be 70 and still be able to take a bump like Ric Flair. Damn it, I want to be 40 and take a bump like they did. Oh my God, that was a spot. If you didn't get amped up for that, I think you need to check your goddamn pulse.
Yep.
I had to watch that 3 times, and I dropped the phone the first time. I was like, God damn.
Yeah. Took that clean too. Well, actually, if we talk about spots, shoot, you talked about it earlier. Shout out to Marina Shafir for taking a goddamn choke slam, a stiff choke slam on the table that her head bounced. I thought she was about to go to concussion protocol on Rampage. I don't know if you guys paid attention to that, but her head just went down straight up like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, that was nasty.
And the table needed
that was nasty, but yeah.
There was just no giving that one. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
So then the next match was before the X Division Championship. Trey Miguel, the champion, went up against Speedball Mike Bailey and Ace Austin. And for those of you who remember me and Perry talking about Speedball Mike Bailey before WrestleMania, during WrestleMania weekend, this man. And I'm sure there were other wrestlers that did something similar. But this man was in 9 matches in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And these weren't just any regular matches. I mean, he went up against some stiff competition. And these weren't short matches either. These were like at least 20 minutes each. These matches. These weren't short matches at all. So, and he's still going. He hasn't taken a break. He hasn't stopped. So, I mean, kudos to him for, still being able to stand after WrestleMania weekend because, I get.
That somebody had taken a picture and it said, you wonder what Speedball is doing. He's in one of the ballrooms, just laid out like a crucifix, sleep.
Yeah, yeah,
out.
Yeah. I heard about that. He actually went. I don't know if it was before or after a show, but he was in the damn ring, asleep, passed out.
Yep.
And getting ready for a next fight because I know he had matches. I want to say he wrestled Minoru Suzuki and then turned around and wrestled somebody else crazy. I can't remember who it was though. But to follow any match after the Minoru Suzuki is crazy in itself. You know what I'm saying? And that was a main event. So kudos to Speedball Mike Bailey. I know he was out of the United States for a long time, and he's trying to catch back up. Trying to get reestablished in the United States. So kudos to him. And the fact that a fact that he's engaged to Beta Scott is another achievement in itself. So
Hey,
he had this match against Ace Austin and Trey Miguel for the X Division Championship, and Ace Austin wound up pinning Trey Miguel, so we have a new X Division champion. Now, the next match after that was which the show started, so I wasn't really able to keep up with that too much. I'm sure Perry can help us out with the rest of the matches up to this point. Jonah versus Tomohiro Ishii, which I'm sure was a hard-hitting match. It was the first time for them getting in the ring together. I missed out on who won that match, but then that led to the eight-team elimination match for the Impact Tag Team Championships. And I wound up missing that because I was in the midst of talking to y'all. So, like I said, Perry will probably be able to help us out with those matches. And right now, you have the Knockouts Championship with Tasha Steelz defending against Rosemary. That match is still going on right now. So, it's been a pretty good night so far. Okay, Ishii beat Jonah. Okay. And Violent by Design, which is the champions, they wound up retaining. So okay, very good. All right. So once this match ends, I'll be able to let you know what's going on with that match, and with Tasha Steelz and Rosemary, and we can continue on. The main event is going to be Josh Alexander versus Moose for the Impact World Championship. So we'll see how that goes. And I think that's going to be that's the last match, because it's going on. It's quarter right now. It's almost a quarter to it's quarter after 11. So this should be the semifinal. So okay.
All right. Well, appreciate that update. So Sumo, we actually going to be wrapping this up very soon. We're just going to be talking about something interesting, taking it back to Mania, and that's the results of WrestleMania is where we're going to wrap everything up with tonight. And I guess Vincent Kennedy and Mr. Khan over there will consider this stupendous results, because we're going to compare what Mania did in 2 nights. Just want to make sure that we're pointing it out, 2 nights versus arguably the biggest sports event of the year, being the Super Bowl. So in reference to social media impressions, the WWE had 2.2 billion impressions versus the 1.8 billion for the Super Bowl. For video views on YouTube's and wherever else that they're streaming and however they were getting it, WrestleMania had 1.1 billion versus the 618 million video views. For engagements, that's just how many times something Mania or Super Bowl related was clicked. It's 87 million for WrestleMania versus 78 million for the Super Bowl. And the last one, for video watching time in hours of whatever period, that's the combination of live as well as what was tweeted or what do you call it, Snapchat, all that stuff, Instagram, etc. The WWE had 13.1 million video time that people have watched versus the Super Bowl's 3.56 million. So clearly, two days of WrestleMania outdid the Super Bowl.
I'm calling shenanigans.
But here's
I agree with you, James.
Everything up with.
I'm calling shenanigans.
Here's the conversation. I'm not going to call shenanigans, but I'm going to take it back to our show before Mania. Because imagine if the Super Bowl had Brady playing, Jerry Rice receiving, more Super Bowl and MVP and Hall of Fame members sprinkled all throughout the show. We're not talking about halftime. We're just talking about the main event, the main game. If they had more star power from the past, would that have evened the odds? Because we had Stone Cold and damn everything else that WWE could throw at it, making it 2 days and this and that to get that stupendous level, to which arguably some things like could have been better. Could have been one show. The rest of it could have been done on a Monday night after and a Friday night after. Could 2 nights have been overkill? Possibly. But my question to you guys is, was it an unfair fight? Because all that extra star power, even Vincent Kennedy getting in the ring, versus just 2 sports teams.
I'm calling bullshit on the whole thing, because here's the thing. I find it interesting that WWE used the metrics of social media rather than the metrics of actual ratings.
Well, I wonder, can you count it as, would it still be an even playing field considering that you're talking a streaming service in Peacock?
No, I don't think so. Because I mean, the thing about the ratings that they've already
Super Bowl,
they always are talking about demographics. They're always talking about the ratings. They're always talking about how many people are actually watching. How many people, as far as, and Tasha Steelz just won, so she retained her belt. Now, they're always talking about the demographics as far as 18 to 49 and all that crap. Where are those numbers? You know what I'm saying? Like before WrestleMania, what I said, my true gauge wasn't against the Super Bowl.
Right.
My true gauge was WrestleMania Night 1 versus the NCAA Final Four game, Carolina versus Duke. Same night,
right?
Same time. Who would have won? And I was looking for numbers to make the comparisons between those two rather than the Super Bowl. Right now, I mean, that's apples and oranges, really, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I do have the numbers.
Because, Vince and NFL have always had that time of the year beef, for lack of a better term. That's his number one competition. He always tries to laser thick to beat the NFL.
Which makes my comparison more compelling because they were on the same night, going up against each other at the same time. So check this out, okay? Saturdays, and I'm reading from Sports Media Watch website. Saturdays, North Carolina versus Duke NCAA men's basketball national semifinal averaged an 8.6 rating and 17.66 million viewers across TBS, TNT, and True TV. Okay?
All right.
Even the Carolina versus Oregon. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. They were compared it to another year. Okay. Let me find the other demographic, the one that they always talking about. Okay. It also averaged more viewers than the previous weekend's Academy Awards on ABC in viewership. 17.7 versus 16.6 million, and swept the Oscars in the key adult demographic of adults 18 to 45, 4.8 versus 3.8, 18 to 34, 3.5 to 2.9, and 25 to 54 is 6.0 to 4.6. So the 18 to 49 demographic, they got an 8.4, a 4.8 rating. Now, these are some high numbers.
Yes, they are.
These are very high numbers. Now, do you think the WWE saw this and said, I don't know if we need to be putting out actual viewer numbers in comparison to that game, which was on the same night as night one, because it might make us look bad.
Not only that, but they're in also direct competition with all of the content that was happening at the same time. And this Ring of Honor situation with AEW was also a little bit troubling for them, in my opinion, as well, because that put a different level of microscope and attention to what was happening at WrestleCon.
Right.
So yeah, I wouldn't have put that out either, because I think the days of WrestleMania being the only thing in town, and it's no disrespect to WrestleCon and all that other stuff, but we knew at one point WrestleMania just was that city, period. Everybody can have a little something, but WrestleMania was that city. But now all these events are becoming big enough to distract and take people away. So if they're not bringing it, then, we've got an issue here, Houston. And
exactly,
we're going next year, that's going to be very interesting if Dwayne has a prior engagement, because it's happened before.
And Los Angeles is a nice little stronghold for GCW. They have a following in Los Angeles, so the collective will make money and bring numbers
if they don't buy it, like you said. Because if they do that, then they'll have their impression in that, and that could be another reason why they may be looking at it, is because, hey, if we can get our impression in there, then we could take some of the stress away from, or the distraction, and we can use NXT talent. We could use some of the talent that's not going to be on Mania, put them on those shows, and there we go. So I just thought that was interesting, and I just wanted to bring it out when I saw that. I was like, man, they're really trying to tout that they crushed the Super Bowl. But like you said, what's the real numbers? How does it really
what are the real numbers?
Can I say something?
Comparison, and KG, I'm going to let you close out the show with this. Your boy, and I think you should have beef. You said earlier you didn't have beef in our text chain, but you should have beef, because your boy Tony Khan is slowly but surely building Worlds Collide, and you ain't getting no check for it. They just announced their crossover event with New Japan that's going to be coming up. So basically,
June 26th.
Yep. So
June 26th in the United Center in Chicago.
So we've got three members of the Bullet Club clean already announced to be in it. Plus, we've got Ring of Honor sprinkled all throughout Dynamite and Rampage. So we're going to be seeing that happening. So that could open up the door for more opportunity. We had Ishii,
and you got Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo still has the Ring of Honor Championship, so that's Impact as well.
So there's a lot going on, that these layers of this cake is getting thicker and thicker, to where if we're leaving the WWE element out, they're bringing larger elements in. Your pay-per-view is happening, and you ain't getting no check. We're just leaving out Vince.
Well, in order for that to happen, we need New Japan, AEW, Okay, hold on. New Japan, AEW, GCW, Impact, WWE. We need everybody to happen. And it could be almost like a night of champions. Now, that could be a 2-night event. You need AAA. You need everybody to come together. Your top stars come together and put this show on for the wrestling community. Like, I fleshed this thing out, who could wrestle who and how to get it done.
Now, for the record, though, I will say, just being fair to WWE, there's heavily rumored that they are putting feelers out to see what the thought is for them to get involved in something like that. So in essence, could we have maybe in the next, well, if they were smart, they would do it sooner than later, because we would have that Marvel versus DC thing, so they can get a taste of MJF before his contract expires and they really start talking money. They can see him up close. You know, they can. Jericho is, we'll call him neutral. He's force neutral. Oh, this isn't Vince steering this. Perry.
No, but he said he said the truth. Vince does not care about the wrestling community. Not one
he
bit.
does.
Coming from the Khan is what is heavily rumored. So if Nick Khan is saying, "Hey, this could be a big cash cow," we need to kind of start putting the word out and checking and seeing what people think in the industry. And you know, obviously, if he says it, Vince pretty much is going to do it to some extent. You know, because they've got enough talent to send somebody over. They've had enough talent that the rub would go both ways. You know, considering that I think it's funny, AEW, the undisputed elite. I still haven't seen what hand signals they thrown up yet for that one.
They haven't done that yet.
But guess what?
I mean, you know, there's so much crossover potential in the brands.
Think about this. Think about this.
Yeah.
What you could do to hype this up, kind of like an invasion angle that you should have had in 2001, where you don't know they're coming. AEW just shows up to WWE TV. Vince,
you recreate history.
You could. You have the chance to.
Just call it the Scott Hall shot.
But then on top of that, AEW think everything cool. They puffing their chest out, and all of a sudden, the whole entire WWE roster show up and beat the shit out of everybody. Then a week later, AEW get Impact, and they show up and beat the shit out of everybody. And it's just like you kind of forming sides, you kind of forming alliances with everybody. Then all of a sudden, it's like a powder keg just need a spark, and that spark comes, and boom, you got money. And Tony Khan, Vince McMahon, all of the leaders of every wrestling organization sitting there like, how much money you got? Oh, let me put a little bit more money in your pocket. We bought even. What y'all got? What you got? 6 million? Oh no, we're gonna need a little bit more than 6 million a night. Let's try to make it 10 million a night. And they just sitting there just counting money. Johnny Tapia, your fucking mother, just counting money, man. That's the way it's supposed to be. But it's gonna be something that the fans love.
What city and what stadium would you host it in?
Madison Square Garden.
Is that big enough? That's too small.
Well, I mean, unless you want to do it
at that level. I mean, we talking they should be packing in at least 100K on that.
Okay, if that's the case, you want to go bigger. You want to do it indoor, bigger. Because hell, you can go outdoor and do it big at the LA Coliseum. You could fit 110,000 at LA Coliseum, period. But then when you start adding in floor seats and everything, that's easily 125, 130,000.
Right.
But you can do it at AT&T Stadium and fit 100,000 in there. And that's indoor with a retractable roof.
Right.
I mean, it's the biggest toilet bowl in America. And I still have the desire to go take a huge shit on that star in the middle of the stadium. But for wrestling purposes, go ahead, let's do it. Let's do it. And there it is. I mean, I say Madison Square Garden because that's where magic happens in wrestling. Wrestling, boxing, and basketball. That's where magic happens is Madison Square Garden.
Now, I'm with you on that as being the iconic pinnacle. But I would just say the event would just be bigger than the Garden. No disrespect to MSG. But, when you're talking about the gate and dividing it by 5 to 6 different companies, you want as much as you can pack in before merchandise.
But no. Even before that, you secured the TV rights because everybody's going to want a piece of that. You don't make that Peacock exclusive. You make
Fox
that.
Will pay for that. Fox will pay
No.
that, guaranteed.
Fox, Comcast, which is NBC Universal USA, you get them. And that's also including the Peacock. You get Fight TV. You get everybody. And anybody tries to pirate this shit, you shut it down because it's going to cost money. You need streams. You need revenue. You show it live on Facebook. You make Facebook pay for it. You make Instagram pay for it. You make people pay to show this event, and the money is going to roll in. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, the money is going to roll in.
Show up to fight a first shot in WWE. So from AEW to WWE, who would come in and fire the first shot?
Well, I don't think WWE would be involved in it at all. But
we're fantasizing at this point. But truthfully,
yeah, but I was about to say, but as far as fantasy booking is concerned,
I know my guy.
Fire the first salvo. Send in John Moxley.
That'd be a good one.
With the GCW championship, and have him jump Roman Reigns.
Ooh. Okay.
I was thinking first. Well, no, probably send them both at the same time. If this was going to happen sooner than later, because he hasn't been seen in quite some time, the person I would have walk in to the arena or through the crowd would be Kenny Omega. And beside him with the microphone, or to take the microphone from Kenny when he snatches it, would be Jim Ross. And let Jim Ross cut the promo. Because that to me, that would dig really deep as the voice of probably 80% of their current viewership's life in wrestling and the WWE.
The voice of a generation.
Talking crap. And he's got Kenny.
But see, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Like you said, I would have him come in like Scott Hall. Moxley comes through the crowd. He's got GCW gear on. Everybody knows he's AEW, but he's a GCW champion. So he got an AEW shirt on with the GCW belt. He comes in, he jumps Roman Reigns, doesn't say a word, just jumps him and leaves. Then maybe the next week you have Kenny Omega come through with Jim Ross.
So that'd be on a Monday.
But then eventually everybody's like, well, how are they getting in? What's going on? How's everybody coming in?
I'm injected poison.
And it comes out that it was Cody all along.
Oh, snap. I got to sit back on that one. Almost turn invisible. Snap.
Cody was the catalyst.
The Trojan horse.
The Trojan horse, exactly.
Okay. KG, we've already thrown some out there. You have anybody else that you would think will be a good invasion person? Because technically we've invaded Raw and SmackDown. Who's going to invade NXT? Because you can't leave them behind.
Well,
somebody's got to roll down there and beat a sign.
It's easy. I already got them, but I'm gonna let you tell it. It's easy.
Somebody's got to go down there.
It's a softball.
Oh man! Now that you say that, you done put the goddamn pressure on me. Oh,
no, I'm just joking. But
who you got, James?
FTR.
I wasn't even thinking along those lines.
FTR comes back to NXT.
My thing was having Jericho do it.
Nah. I mean, we'll save Jericho. We saved Jericho for almost last.
Yeah, because he's gonna put the butts in the seats. He's gonna cut the promo.
Jericho's gonna end up putting the butts in the seats. Plus, with everything going on, that everybody's gonna be like, well, so who's leading this? Who's leading this thing? Who's the guy? Who's the guy that? I mean, you had Cody. Who's the one that sent Cody over here? Who's the one to send FT? Who knew to send FTR to NXT? Who's the one who got Kenny Omega and Jim Ross to come in here? Who has those connections? Make that Jericho.
Wait, but
it was me. It was me all along.
Think about this. Wait, and then we can get out of here. But think about this.
Jericho doesn't have to wrestle. He just
he doesn't have to wrestle. He's just a mouthpiece.
He needs to show up.
Jericho is
he just needs to show
the promo out. He can out promo everybody. I'd say Roman is the only person right now that could match him at this point.
Hold on.
Just because of how over Roman is.
Think about this. You got the biggest toilet bowl in America, got 150,000 people in it. Live. 150,000 paid participants in here. Can you imagine? And I'm just saying 150. I don't think it probably can be 150, but imagine 150,000 people. When that beat drops, I become, man. And you hear 150,000 people singing Judas. Oh my God. That's the night right there. That's worth the price of admission just to hear that. Then they cut the music and they keep singing the entire song. Oh my God.
That is still in my opinion, the dream. I know it's gotta be the dream of everybody in AEW to get to that point where they're doing that much at the gate. So that's a good point too. It could be
shit, that was me. I'm sorry.
My bad. The name on the signature to let them in the building did say McMahon.
Hey Raj, that's a damn good idea right there. I like that.
Oh man, so
see this stuff
hold
right
on,
to sell.
KG, because you started to get worked up. This is one of those times when we just gotta let the people stew in that one. I mean, we served them a plate of awesomeness right there. We could talk about that all night.
But here's the thing, though. You were talking about. I'm gonna go back a little bit. You talk about KG getting his check for the Super Show. Where's my check?
What do you check for?
Where's my check?
For what? What refreshers?
Unifying the titles.
Yeah. That is another
unifying the titles.
Yeah.
They unified the Universal and WWE Championship, and now they're doing it with the Raw and SmackDown tag titles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Going back to one championship.
Where's my check? I've been saying this for what? 2 years?
Yeah. Because you've been saying it's too many belts. It's too many belts. It's too many belts. I'm like, James, it's not enough belts. Bring back the TV title. Bring back the 6-man championship. It's not enough belts.
And then I read an article the other day talking about how, Roman Reigns missed 2 weeks of television. Like I said, you don't have to have your champion be on television every week.
I mean, it helps.
You don't have to, though. Look, he was off television for 2 weeks, and he was missed.
Yeah, but now think about
and
that.
He came back. He comes back, and he's not doing anything.
But
he's just making appearances. He's not doing anything.
Think about that little kid that wants to see Roman Reigns wrestle, and he tunes in every week before he goes to bed on Friday nights. And you never see Roman Reigns wrestle, you start to hate that wrestler. Believe me, I did it with Hogan in the 80s because I never got to see Hogan. Maybe a Saturday night main event here and there. Pay-per-views, of course. I barely got to see him on Superstars. Maybe once or twice I remember seeing him. Outside of that, I don't remember seeing Hogan.
But when he shows up, you pay to see him.
Yeah. But the thing is, that's the problem. I had to pay to see him.
Exactly.
I was fucking 7 years old.
That's your money, though. That's your money.
As an adult,
you're tuning in every week to see if he shows up, if he comes on, if he just cuts a promo. You're looking for him. You can't miss anybody if they don't go away. You do not. Roman Reigns is your new attraction.
Okay.
Now that Brock Lesnar's gone. Now that Brock Lesnar's gone, Roman Reigns is your new attraction. He is your main champion on your show, on your programming. He does not have to be on television every week because he will. Go ahead.
Guess what?
For sure.
He may not have to be on TV every week, and I get what you're saying about got to go away to be missed. But you know what that also does? That gives me an opportunity to love somebody else and no longer love you as a champion. Because when not being able to see Hogan during that time, I want to see Papa Shango every week. And Papa Shango at the first off the rip, he didn't really wrestle like that. He was just making dudes throw up in the middle of the ring. And I was good with that. I don't care about Hogan. Damn Hogan.
Well,
You're
But-
making my point.
Can we at least
But
agree?
it made me want to go to somebody else. He was no longer my favorite wrestler. Just like
You're making my point. My whole point of me saying that was you put the title on one person. Keep them off of television, and what do you have to do? You have to build other belts. You have to build the United States Championship. You have to build the Intercontinental Championship. You have to show the women with the tag team titles, with the women's championship.
I get it.
You unify the women's championship in the same way you did with Roman Reigns, and you do the same thing. You're building up the titles that need to be built up. You make the Intercontinental Championship the main title on SmackDown. You make the United States Championship the main title on Raw. And during these pay-per-views, during the anniversary shows or whatever, the 20th anniversary of Randy Orton or whatever, then you bring out your champion and have him wrestle. Make it significant. Make that championship worth something. Because right now, the Universal Championship and the WWE Championship don't mean shit. You make those titles mean something. You put butts in the seats by making that title go away and bringing it back when it means something.
I get it.
That's what you were making my point.
Okay,
making my whole point.
That right there is absolutely perfect. I mean, you explained it like that. I get it. Now, in line with that, make the Intercontinental and the U.S. title mean what it used to mean, where the number one contender, the next one to take over the mantle of the heavyweight championship, the Universal Championship, holds those titles. Make that mean something again.
You can't see the champion unless you have the number one headband. You ever watch Afro Samurai?
Mm-hmm.
You can't see the grand champion unless you have the number one headband. That was the whole premise behind the Afro Samurai. He was going after the person who held the number one headband. That was the only way he could get to the champion. That's the only way you get to see the champion is if you have one of those two belts.
Right. And make it like that again, because guys are coming in, like, mark my words, before the end. What is this? We're in April. Before the end of June, Cody will have a title shot. And I don't mean U.S. title or 24/7 or Intercontinental.
They're gonna have to build him up to that, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, he will. He will eventually go against Roman Reigns at some point.
And that's
it won't be SummerSlam. It won't be SummerSlam. It might be Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you guys are at least in agreement that they are doing a great job with Roman right now, because even though Roman is heavily stationed on SmackDown, and that's where you see him as the champion, you're getting the Roman Reigns impression when the Usos go to Raw. So they're carrying over the storyline, but as you were saying, James, Roman isn't bouncing back and forth all over the place, cutting promos and doing this. When the Roman needs to go to Raw, then you see Roman on Raw. And that makes his presence more ominous, because now we've got Roman walking in, and then you can have those pass-by interactions between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. You know, you can have
those
awkward looks between Roman and Seth.
Plus, when he won the championship, did you notice something? Did you notice that he went for when Heyman had both of the belts?
Oh yeah, he took his.
He took his. He took the SmackDown belt.
And what did he do with the other one?
That was his belt. He picks it up every now and again, but he's got Heyman holding the other belt.
He gave Heyman.
It's not that it's not right. It's not that it's not significant to him. It's just that the Universal belt is his belt. The new championship is going to be called the Unified Universal Championship. They take him off of TV. They don't put him on Raw. What do? They send the Usos to Raw, and they put the emphasis on the tag team championships and the tag team championships being unified. Take Roman out of the picture. He's an attraction. Bring him in when he's needed.
But the only issue that we have, though, is that the attraction has destroyed every other attraction. That's the only problem with this that I foresee.
Well, you only need one. You only need one.
The one that's heavily rumored is the one that's not going to be there long enough to continue it. Having The Rock beat him, and he won it right back in a 30-day period, is still putting Roman in the Cena effect. Because, you just kept winning, just kept winning. Nobody is believable to beat you. And you beat Brock now and unified the belt. Who's believable to take it away from?
You have to build somebody to make the believable, which is the WWE's job to do.
They've got to move it quick, or otherwise he's going to have the longest reigning championship experience of all time. So, I mean, somebody's got to come up that's got to be believable. And right now they're trying to eventually hang that hat on Cody. But beyond that, out of the homegrown talent, there really isn't anybody that he hasn't squashed. Besides a returning, if they want to spend that much money after he makes this horror movie, Bray Wyatt. Or I don't think Roman has ever beat the Demon. That'd be the only two I could think of. Because he's beat Seth.
Hey, don't be surprised. They may make it Austin Theory.
I would be mad. He's not ready yet, in my opinion.
No, he's not ready yet. He's not ready yet. But remember, who was the last person that they put in this position, in Austin Theory's position? That they put him with McMahon, and they said, and McMahon called him the next thing.
That was Drew. But Drew had to go away.
He's got to make up for that. So don't be surprised if you don't see Austin Theory going on this big long run and eventually get to the point, whether he beats him or not, to where they make him comparable to Roman Reigns.
I can see
and put him in a position to where they can make him believable as beating him.
I can see it if in my opinion, if I had to book it, I would have him take a little bit of Miz into it, being that I would have him win the Money in the Bank, but do something different. He would cash in the Money in the Bank on the Intercontinental Championship. And then the reason why he did that is because that title needs to be as prestigious as what KG was saying. And I'm going to prove that taking this title is going to mean that I can go up to Roman and be number one contender whenever I feel like. I don't need a Money in the Bank for that because I'm the Intercontinental Champion. And he would have beaten everybody in succession up until that point to where it would be irrefutable for him to not be number one contender.
But they're already starting that.
Huh?
They're already starting that, but they're already starting that by giving him the United States Championship. Remember,
I know, but
they're going to build up the United States title and the Intercontinental title to make them their top titles on those shows.
But the Intercontinental is on Roman's show. So Theory wouldn't have privy to it if the brands stay where they are. So he wins Money in the Bank, goes over there and takes that belt. Then now he's jumping back and forth between two shows because I'm that guy. I'm the McMahon guy that I can be over here holding it down. And then I'm your champion for SmackDown. Then he steps to Roman. And then Vince is standing behind Theory. And then you have that presence that would rival the Roman Reigns experience is what we'll call it. So then it kind of balances out. So that's how I would elevate him in a roundabout way. Instead of him just winning a match, and then talking trash. Because he can't out-talk Roman. And he's not going to outsell people. But if you put him in that path with the Money in the Bank to take their belt, then it becomes personal. Because you done came over to my show, took one of my belts that I could take whenever I feel like it, but I don't want it. And now you talking trash. That's how I do it. If it happens that way, cut me another check. We hope. But man, we found a way to slide in over an hour and a half into this show. Good job.
We did.
Imagine what happens when we actually watch stuff this upcoming week. Oh man!
And
But
don't forget, Rod said he saw Hogan all the time at house shows, the old Capitol Center. I'm glad you got to see him because I damn sure didn't. I'm still bitter about it 30 some odd years later.
It's okay, man. It's okay.
Oh shit!
You got your Papa Sean. We'll just start going to convulsions and stuff now.
Well, well, let me ask a question to close out the show. Just want to say something. I'm being dead serious. I'm being honest. I'm not even being funny. Today would have been one of my uncle's 72nd birthday. And I bring this up on a wrestling show because I was at his house the night that the Rock and Sock Connection won their tag titles the first time. And I was trying my damnedest not to wake him and my aunt up from screaming so loud when they won. So just want to say happy birthday to my uncle, John Wesley Carroll. Don't call him Wesley and don't answer him what. Every day, man, I'm always going by something that he told me, something, somehow, some way. So I still go up to Super Liquors down on Marlboro Pike and hope to walk in there, hope he behind the counter. So
no, that's a good full circle right there as we start the show talking about back in the day with Young Rock and how people influenced his life, either via cinema or history, depending on which way you want to look at the show. And then now we just saw how you had somebody affect your life in the same fashion, and it's still all revolved around wrestling. So you can't ask for any better button on the show than that. So we're not even going to try to go beyond. So the people's choice, as always, I'm going to tell you to diversify your bonds. KG?
well, that's not my line. That's James' line.
I know it's not your line. I'm giving you some. If he says his line, we're done.
Well. Thank you. Thank you.
Sumo.
Konnichiwa, bitches.